Oh, how's it going, everybody? We're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick an artist and I'll listen to their entire discography and give my thoughts on it. And the rules go like this. The band in question must have 5 or more original studio albums. Cover albums can count. Generally, I don't talk about live or acoustic albums unless the track's original in that form. So, here we go. We're going to talk about a major legend this episode. That's right. So, this video, we present Deep Purple. That's right. So, a lot of history behind this band. They're still around today. So they definitely did a lot of material over the years. So they have a total of 23 original studio albums, including their cover album, spanning from their debut, Shades of Deep Purple, all the way back in 1968, all the way to their latest album from last year in 2024, Equals One. So, a lot of stuff to go through here in this episode. And yeah, it took me a while to listen to it all back to back to back. You know, plus a few, B-sides and bonus tracks in there too, on top of all that. And on top of it all, they have had a total of, 14 members when you add it all up between the current members and the former members. That's actually 15, I believe. So currently you got the drummer Ian Pace. He was with the band basically the entire way, throughout all the albums, everything. You got Roger Clover, who's bass, keyboards, and backing vocals. And he was around, I think the only time he missed was like 74, 75, 76. You got Ian Gillan, who's lead vocals. And he didn't join in until like 1969. So he missed the first 3 albums and I guess the last 3 of the 70s. And then he was out for 1 album in the 90s. You got Don Airway, who is keyboards. It was 2002 to present, so he's been around for a while. And then the newest member, Simon McBride, who just joined in 2022 in the guitars. So, really, his only album appearance right now would be Equals One. But reading down through the former members, it's interesting. So you got, obviously, Richie Blackmore. He was definitely a big part of the band in the early half. And, of course, also known for starting Rainbow whenever Deep Purple did actually take their break. And I would say he's definitely a big reason why Ron and James Dio got popular early on. And then going through here, you get David Coverdale. And we know him more for, like, Whitesnake. But, yeah, he didn't hit Whitesnake till the 80s. But, yeah, he was with Deep Purple, like, pretty much like the last couple years of the 70s era before they disbanded. And then, of course, you've got... Well, what was that one album? Yeah, sorry, I had a brain fart. It was the Coverdale Page album. I discussed this album in the One-Offs video. So, I didn't realize that David Coverdale was a part of Deep Purple in the 70s before he got popular with Whitesnake. And then, another one that surprised me, for like a year, you had Joe Satriani. He did guitars for them in 93, 94, so he was in one album. So, definitely a lot of popular musicians that have come and gone from this band over the years. So, how did I get into Deep Purple? Well, much like other bands from the 70s, it was either my dad playing them or I heard them on the radio. Obviously, Smoke on the Water would probably be the first song I can remember hearing from them. And, oh yeah, their cover of Hush, that was another popular one back then. And Woman from Tokyo. I would say they were like the first 3 Deep Purple songs I can remember, but I never really got into them when I first heard them. I just sort of casually heard them, like I said, either my dad playing them or on regular rock radio. And obviously I never did get to see them in concert at all. I don't have any concert experiences with them or anything. So, a lot of albums to go over here. So, we'll start it off with Shades of Deep Purple. So, one of the 2 I have actually on physical. So, I would say this era of Deep Purple is sort of more your psychedelic era, more your sort of hippie era, I guess. We're in a time when heavy metal was not even a thing. Like, hard rock may have been taken off a little bit, but like heavy metal, there was just no such thing back then. I mean, this literally predates Black Sabbath. So, I would say these first three albums, sort of it almost rivals Jimi Hendrix a little bit. But, I mean, at the time, not as popular. So, here we start off, like I said, Shades of Deep Purple, 1968. This is actually the remaster from, I believe, 2000 that I got here, which comes with a couple bonus cuts. But you start off with a song, And the Address, which it's sort of an instrumental, real cool instrumental. And believe it or not, they actually redid their own song. Like, they redid this in a later album. Then you got Hush, which is the most popular one, I would say, of this era. One More Rainy Day. Prelude, Happiness, I'm So Glad, which that actually was a cover. And then you have Mandrake Root. You got Help, which was a Beatles cover. Love Help Me, and Hey Joe, which was a Jimi Hendrix cover. And then, if you got the bonus tracks like you have here, you get Shadows, which was an outtake. And then you get like the instrumental version of Love Help Me. You get an alternate take of Help. You get the BBC Top Gear session, Hey Joe. And a live TV US version of Hush. Which I did forget to mention, Hush is actually a cover. It was originally Billy Joe Royal who did that song. And then it was like the very next year, Deep Purple comes out with their version of it, and it got super popular. Like, I guess you could say timeless. So, there's that. So, moving on, still in 1968, you have the Book of Taliesin, and so what we got here is Listen, Learn, Read On, Ring the Neck, Kentucky Woman, which was a Neil Diamond cover. You have Exploitation and We Can Work It Out, which We Can Work It Out was a Beatles cover, so there they are covering the Beatles again. You got Shield, Anthem. You have River Deep, Mountain High, which was an Ike and Tina Turner cover, believe it or not. I didn't think Tina Turner was around all the way back then. I guess I was wrong. I knew she was in the 70s, but I didn't know she was all the way in the 60s. But rest in peace, Tina. So, going into the remastered, you have Oh No No No, which was an outtake. You have It's All Over, which was a BBC Top Gear version. You have Hey Bop Re Bop, another BBC version. Ring That Neck, another BBC version, and Playground, which was a remixed instrumental outtake. And then moving on, we move on to 1969. Nice. We have Deep Purple with their self-titled album, Deep Purple. So, what do we have in this listing? We have Chasing Shadows, Blind, Latina, which is a Donovan cover, Fault Line, instrumental. You have The Painter, Flip Tape Over. You have Why Didn't Rosemary, Bird Has Flown, and April. And then, of course, you get more bonus tracks with, like, alternate cuts and whatnot. But, pretty good stuff if you want to listen to, like, the 60s, hippie era of rock. So this is where I feel, moving on to the fourth album, this is where I feel like Deep Purple really caught on. Like, they really innovated in hard rock and, dare I say it, heavy metal. So, here we are in 1970, whole new decade, whole new sound. So here we have Deep Purple and Rock, which released in 1970. And Ian Gillan, he joins the band as vocalist. We start off real heavy with Speed King, real awesome song. You have Bloodsucker, Child in Time. You have Flight of the Rat, Into the Fire, Living Wreck, and Hard Lovin' Man. And if you got the bonus tracks, or even a greatest hits compilation, you got the song Black Knight. A real heavy song. I feel that should have been on the album, honestly. But yeah, but like I said, I feel like right here, this is like the same year Black Sabbath started releasing their albums. Here you got Deep Purple. I mean, they almost rival each other here as far as like, being heavy and loud. But this is an era of Deep Purple I really love. So, moving on to their fifth album, we're in 1971. We got their album Fireball. And this one I've been listening to for years. My uncle gave me a copy of it. So, we start off with the song Fireball. Real good tune, real heavy. We have No No No, Demon's Eye, Anyone's Daughter, The Mule, Fools, and No One Came. So then, moving on, going on to 1972, they've been releasing material every year here for this first decade. So 72, very legendary, we got Deep Purple, Machine Head. Now, what you see here is the special 2-disc edition, which includes, like, the album, and then when you go to disc 2, it's like a quadraphonic mix of the whole album. And, of course... Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're Roger Clover remixes on the second disc. First disc, you get... I think you get a B-side, and then you get, like, quadraphonic mixes of a couple of their songs here. But, yeah, the original cover. And so we start off with the very popular Highway Star. Very cool tune. Makes you want to drive fast. Some might say it's overplayed, but I love it. You got Maybe I'm Leo, Pictures of Home, Never Before. I would say maybe their most popular song, Smoke on the Water. Dun, dun, dun. Dare I say, it could be a little overplayed sometimes. Then, probably one of my favorite songs of the whole album, Lazy. It's sort of, not really heavy, but it's sort of like a cool instrumental, And then you have Space Truckin', another good one. And then, since we have the special edition here, we have When a Blind Man Cries. And I didn't really know this song until I heard Metallica do a cover of it. And I sort of reverted back to this and listened to it. And then, of course, you get your quadraphonic mixes of the other songs, and then the Roger Clover remixes, but very cool album right here. And I don't even know, I don't think I got this through BMG. No, I didn't. But you get it all here. You get the album art and everything with this. You don't get that with downloads. And a little slip cover to protect it. But that's the last one I actually have on physical. Aside from, greatest hits compilations. I was listening mostly to them over the years, and then here recently I just started to really catch up on all their stuff. So, moving on, 1973, we have Who Do We Think We Are? And I believe this is about where Ian stepped off the band. He stepped out of the band for a little bit. So, what we get here is Woman from Tokyo. Very popular track. Very good way to start it off. We got Mary Long, Super Trooper, Smooth Dancer, Rat Bat Blue, Place a Line, and Our Lady. And of course, again, bonus tracks. They do remixes, instrumentals, all that good stuff. But not a bad follow-up to Machine Head for sure. Then we move on to Burn. And this is where David Coverdale makes his debut in the band. And definitely a damn good album. Loved it. Enjoyed it. So, what we got here is, of course, we start off with the title track, Burn. Real cool song. We have Might Just Take Your Life, Lay Down, Stay Down, Sail Away, You Fool No One, What's Going On Here, Mistreated, and A200. And then, of course, when you get the bonuses, you get 2004 remixes of 5 of the songs. But still, despite, switching lead singers, I mean, they still have a very heavy feel to them at this point. And as far as like the number of albums they're putting out in such a short amount of time, they're basically rivaling Black Sabbath at this point. In fact, I believe they're ahead of Black Sabbath within this timeline. So, still in 1974, we have another album, Stormbringer. Another good heavy album, starting off with the title track once again. Love that song. We have Love Don't Mean a Thing, Holy Man, Hold On, Lady Double Dealer, You Can't Do That Right, With or Without You, or with the one you love. Boy, I read that wrong. Highball Shooter, The Gypsy, and Soldier of Fortune. So yeah, I mean, Stormbringer, I mean, that was a damn heavy song for its time. I love it. So then, moving on to the last album in the 70s, even though it's mid-70s, we have Come Taste the Band. So, about this time after Ritchie Blackmore leaves the band, we get Rainbow right about this same time. So what we got here is... What tracks do we got here? Such a long scroll to get to them here. So, we have Coming Home, Lady Luck, Getting Tighter, that's what she said, The Dealer, I Need Love, Drifter, Love Child, This Time Around, Ode to G, and You Keep Moving. And this album here, compared to the others before it, it wasn't bad, but it was sort of lackluster. You know, almost like they dropped a bit. And then, after this album was done, the next year, the band broke up. So meanwhile, you know, Ritchie Blackmore and Rainbow, they're off doing their thing for like the remainder of the 70s into the early 80s. And then Ian Gillan, he was with Black Sabbath for an album after Ronnie James Dio left there. So then we move on to the 80s. So Deep Purple then... So here we go. Deep Purple gets back together in the 80s. So here we are at 1984, literally a year after Ian Gillan puts out an album with Black Sabbath. We're at 84. We get Perfect Strangers, and I feel like they got a little bit more proggy by this time. Like completely different sound from 60s Deep Purple and 70s Deep Purple. Like all three decades so far has had sort of their own sound. But I get more prog vibes from like this and like the next album. So, Perfect Strangers, we start off with Knocking at Your Back Door. I would say possibly the most popular track off of that. Between that and Perfect Strangers, the most popular two tracks off of that. But you also have Under the Gun, Nobody's Home, Mean Streak. Then when you turn the tape over, you get Perfect Strangers, A Gypsy's Kiss, Wasted Sunsets, Hungry Days. And if you get the bonus track, you get Not Responsible. And definitely a different take on Deep Purple, but great album. I loved it. And it kind of fits in, like, even though they're not really a hair band per se, they fit in with that time period pretty well. I mean, they were still sort of like in the mainstream of rock, so to speak. Still somewhat popular. So, moving on to 1987, we have The House of Blue Light. And some might say this album sucks, but I actually enjoyed it. So, here we have the song Bad Attitude. Love that song. We have The Unwritten Law. And then we got the most popular song from this album, Call of the Wild. You get Mad Dog, Black and White, Hard Lovin' Woman, The Spanish Archer, Strange Ways, Mitzi Dupree, and Dead or Alive. So, like I said, Ian Gillan and Ritchie Blackmore, they're back at it here. But even though it was sort of a short-lived decade in Deep Purple, definitely a good one for sure. So here's a weird one. So we're moving on to 1990. We have Slaves and Masters. So Ian Gillan is not in this album. So I think they bring back the lead singer from Rainbow, I believe. Yeah, they bring back Joe Lynn from Rainbow. So, it's almost like a little bit of a Rainbow reunion with this album. But, I mean, I didn't like it as much as the 80s Deep Purple albums, but, I mean, it was good. I didn't hate it. So here we start off with King of Dreams, and all in all, not a bad song. I think I remember hearing that one on the radio a little bit. Like, it got very little airplay, but didn't really catch on, didn't really stick. And then we also have The Cut Runs Deep, Fire in the Basement, Truth Hurts, Breakfast in Bed, Love Conquers All, Fortune Teller, Too Much Is Not Enough, and Wicked Ways. And if you got the bonuses, you got Slow Down Sister and Love Conquers All, the single edit. But, yeah, not a bad album. Definitely different from any other Deep Purple album, for sure. So, moving on to 1993. So, here, this would be the Joe Satriani album of Deep Purple. And this is where I feel like Deep Purple really fell under the radar. Like, at this point, we're in 93 here, so basically, like, bands like Pearl Jam and Nirvana have taken over the world. And Deep Purple, they just sort of fell under the radar. Like, nobody knew, at least I didn't know they were, like, still recording new music at this point in time. Like I'm talking 90s, 2000s, 2010s. I didn't know they were still putting stuff out there. But anyhow, we have The Battle Rages On. We have Lick It Up. No, it's not a Kiss cover. We have Anya. Then we have Talk About Love, Time to Kill, Ramshackle Man, A Twist in the Tail, Nasty Piece of Work, Solitaire, and One Man's Meat. Boy, that sounds perverted. But yeah, I mean, Joe Satriani, he did a damn good job on the guitars on that album, for sure. But I like Joe Satriani's solo stuff way better, you know? So I definitely recommend checking some of his stuff out, for sure. Joe Satriani kind of reminds me of, like, I can almost compare John Five's solo guitar work to Joe Satriani, for sure. It's just that, you know, John Five, he wasn't around quite as long. But, anyhow, The Battle Rages On, love it. Okay, moving on, we have Perpendicular from 1996. And we start off with Vavoom, Ted the Mechanic, Losing My Strings, Soon Forgotten, Sometimes I Feel Like Screaming, Cascades, I'm Not Your Lover, The Avatar, Rosa Cantina, A Castle Full of Rascals, A Touch Away, Hey Cisco, Somebody Stole My Guitar, The Perpendicular Waltz. And what's weird is, I don't know if they were like trying to do a hidden track or what, but if you get the Japanese version, you get an empty track, and Don't Hold Your Breath on track 14. So, I mean, not a bad album at all. Like, again, we're in the grunge era, so it's sort of overshadowed here. Now we move on to 1998. We have Abandon. And this album right here, I feel, as far as modern Deep Purple goes, it's damn heavy. Surprisingly, it's damn heavy. So, in this album, we start off with Any Fool Know That, Almost Human, Don't Make Me Happy, 17th Heaven, Watching the Sky, Fingers to the Bone, Jack Ruby, She Was, What's Her Name, 69, nice, Evil Louie, and we end it with Bloodsucker, which I almost feel like that's a rehash of an older tune right here. Yeah, it actually is. It actually is. Yeah, so they rehashed Bloodsucker, except they spelled it a little bit differently on this album. But it's kind of cool how they'll, like, revisit some of their earlier stuff in these later albums. Like, they don't overdo it too much as far as that goes. Like, I'm not a fan of re-recordings by any means, but the couple of times they did it, it wasn't bad, honestly. Maybe they left enough time pass between times they recorded it, because here we're in 98, and the original version of Bloodsucker came from their 1970 album, Deep Purple and Rock. So then we move on to the 2000s. We're in 03. We have their album Bananas. And it's sort of an odd cover. It looks like these two foreigners riding in a wagon full of, like, picked bananas. So here we start off with House of Pain. We got Sun Goes Down, Haunted, Razzle Dazzle, Silver Tongue, not the band. The song is really called Silver Tongue. We get Walk On, Picture of Innocence, I Got Your Number, Never a Word, Bananas, the title track, Doing It Right, and Contact Lost. And here again, sort of under the radar, but not bad. So then, 2 years later, 2005, we get Rapture in the Deep. So yeah, they're still putting it out there, even in 2005. So we have Money Talks, again, not a cover. Girls Like That, Wrong Man, their title track, Rapture in the Deep. Clearly quite absurd. Don't Let Go, Back to Back, Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, Junkyard Blues, and Before Time Began. And if you get the bonus tracks, you get Things I Never Said. And so moving on, we get a hiatus. I mean, the band, they were still together and everything. They were touring, but nothing came out of the studio until like 2013. We get like an 8-year studio break. We get their album Now What? And I feel like they really rejuvenated themselves in this latter era of Deep Purple. Like the last 5 albums, they were actually pretty good, you know. So we get A Simple Song, Weirdstein, or Weirdistan, Out of Hand, Hell to Pay, Bodyline, Above and Beyond, Blood from a Stone, Uncommon Man, Oppressed Voice, I don't know what that means, All the Time in the World, and Vincent Price. And then, if you get the bonus tracks, you get It'll Be Me. So in Deep Purple, to keep going throughout the 2010s, you got Infinite. So here we have Time for Bedlam, Hit Boots, All I Got Is You, One Night in Vegas, Get Me Out of Here, The Surprising, Johnny's Band, On Top of the World, Birds of Prey, and they end the original album with Roadhouse Blues, which was obviously a Doors cover. And then, if you get the limited edition, you get Paradise Bar, Simple Folk, a guitar solo, Uncommon Man, which was previously that's an instrumental version. So you get like a couple instrumental versions and first takes and stuff like that. So that wraps up the 2010s. We move on to the 2020s. So we have their studio album Whoosh. So here we have Throw My Bones, Drop the Weapon, We're All in the Same in the Dark, Nothing at All, No Need to Shout, Step by Step. No, it's not a New Kids cover. We have What the What, The Long Way Around, The Power of the Moon, Remission Possible, instrumental, The Man Alive, and this is where I was talking about. They rehashed another old tune here, And the Address. And honestly, the remake of this was actually pretty good. I guess it's like they sort of like polished it a lot better, you know? But I still, that's actually the very first song that they started with on their first album, so it's kind of cool that they brought it back. And of course, when they did the original, Ian Gillan was not even involved in the band yet, so there was no vocals in any of that song at all. So no conflict there. And then if you get a bonus track, you get Dancing in My Sleep. So then we move on to Turning to Crime. Now this would be their cover album. Like I said, we do talk about cover albums on this show, so we'll cover it. Obviously, no pun intended. So here we have them covering 7 Is by Love. We have Rockin' Pneumonia. I can't even read that. Rockin' Pneumonia and the South Boogie Woogie Flu. That's Huey Piano Smith. Forgive me for not reading that right. We got Oh Well, which was Fleetwood Mac. We have Jenny Take a Ride, which was Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. We have Watching the River Flow, which was Bob Dylan. We have Let the Good Times Roll, which was Louis Jordan and the Timpani 5. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that song was more popularized by the Cars, if I'm not mistaken. I swear the Cars did this one. So then we have Dixie Chicken by Little Feat, and that's a song that I haven't heard it in years. I totally forgot about it. So I'll have to go back to the original and listen to that again. But it's one of those that I haven't heard in, I don't know, probably decades, honestly. Then you have Shapes of Things, which was the Yardbirds. And yeah, Rush actually did a cover of this on their cover album as well, which I had mentioned in that video. Their cover album was called Feedback. And then we have Battles of the New Orleans, which was Johnny Horton. We have Lucifer, which was Bob Seger, the Bob Seger System, so an old Bob Seger tune there. And then we have White Room by Cream. Very good song. I love the original. This is not too bad either. And then the last track they did here was sort of like a mishmash of different covers they did here. They call it Caught in the Act. So you get Going Down, you get Green Onions, you get Hotlanta, Dazed and Confused, and Gimme Some Lovin'. So, sort of a great way to cap that album off. So, moving on to last year's and latest recording, Equals One. And I did talk a little bit about this album in the 2024 year-end review. So, we started off with Show Me. We have a bit on the side, Sharpshooter, Portable Door, Old Fangled Thing, If I Were You, Pictures of You, I'm Saying Nothing, Lazy S.O.D., Now You're Talking, No Money to Burn, I'll Catch You, and Bleeding Obvious. And here I feel like they captured a lot more of their 70s sound in this. Yeah, I'd say my favorite song on this album would be A Bit on the A side. But yeah, when I heard that Deep Purple was releasing an album in 2024 and I previewed this, it's like, it's actually pretty good. You know, like the later era of Deep Purple is real solid, I think. But man, for a band to, I mean, despite all the members they've had and everything over the years, I mean, for the band to carry on this long is, there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, hell, they predate like Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper, and they don't quite predate like the Stones or I think Jimi Hendrix was maybe like a year ahead of them, you know. But yeah, now we got to do the ratings, and we have a lot of decades. So how should we do this? Gee, I wonder. So, yeah, that's a lot of albums. So, we're definitely going to do 60s Deep Purple. We're definitely going to do 70s Deep Purple. I would say that's their biggest decade. But you know what? We're just going to go straight decades on this one. Why the hell not? So, what was my favorite in the 60s era of Deep Purple? Screw it. I'm going to say their first album, Shades of Deep Purple. I mean, yeah, granted, like most of those, it seems like most of those first three albums were like nothing but covers, or half of it was covers, but I mean, not too bad for what it was. But yeah, Shades of Deep Purple would definitely rank the top. The Book of Taliesin, probably my least favorite, but I didn't hate any of them. They were all good. 70s Deep Purple, this is going to be a tough one here. As far as my favorite Deep Purple album from this era, hands down Machine Head, loved it. Fireball, a very close second. Burn, probably a very close third. But, yeah, I'm going to say Come Taste the Band was my least favorite out of that one. Like I said, it's kind of where they were slumping a bit, and then it was right before the band broke up for a few years. So we move on to the 80s Deep Purple. Not very much there. So I would say my favorite there definitely Perfect Strangers in '84. Least favorite, House of Blue Light, which not much to choose from there, but I did like both of those albums. Going to the '90s, Deep Purple. Surprisingly, I liked their album Abandon. It was damn heavy for its time. Or it was like way heavier than what they had put out previously, but not bad at all. I love that album. As far as my least favorite, probably Slaves and Masters. It sounded the least like Deep Purple out of all of them in that era. But not taken away from like Rainbow or anything. So then, 2000's Deep Purple. I'm going to say Rapture in the Deep as my favorite. Least favorite, probably Bananas. Obviously, only two to pick from there. As far as 2010's Deep Purple, I'm going to say... Oh boy, that's a toughie. I liked both of those about the same as far as, like, Now What in 2013, Infinite in 2017. They're about neck and neck. I'm just going to call it that. 2020's Deep Purple. Equals One is definitely my favorite. Loved it. Wish Comes Home, a close second. So I would say Turning the Crime would be my least favorite. But yeah, it was a cover album, so I can't really fault it too much there. But yeah, that was a lot to go over. Probably the biggest discography that I've ever reviewed here in the history of this show. Damn. I'm hoping we get more albums out of these guys. Like, yeah, how many years were they out now? So 68 was the first year they put out an album. So they go from 68 to 28. Yeah, that'd be cool if they put out an album for their 70th anniversary. Wouldn't that be crazy? Or no, damn, 60th anniversary. That big spring math is really getting to me. Sorry, people. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video featuring All In, featuring Deep Purple. And I'm talking all of Deep Purple. So yeah, there's really nothing planned after this video. I may take a break from this, like I said before. I figured, do a bigger band for sort of a finale, if you will. But maybe I'll come back. Maybe I'll do a couple other bands if I think of them. So, yeah, stay tuned, see what happens. And, yeah, every Friday night, as tradition, we got videos from the bar. We'll see you next time.